Hello, this next video is on peer review in psychology for the research method section. If I can just remind you as you listen to this video to write the Cornell notes as best you can and also answer the questions that I'll ask as we go through the video. Once you've finished, write this up as neatly as you can into your mind map and have a little look through some of the additional textbooks. Okay, let's have a look at peer review. This is a process that any practicing psychologist who needs to publish their research, get their research out there, is going to have to go through. The idea is, once you've conducted your research and once you've written it up, you need to have somebody else kind of look over it and check to see that effectively it's just not a load of rubbish or it's not too biased. So they're going to check the quality of the scientific research which is inside of your paper, and they'll do this in a whole range of different ways. They'll check the methodology, they'll check how you've actually practically carried out your research, just to check there hasn't been any confounding variables that have affected your study. They'll also check your data analysis to try and see that, okay, have you actually used the correct statistical testing? Have you not checked to see if there's any unreliable data in there? And they're also going to read to the end and see, well, you've done your research, you've perhaps found a significant result, but then you've gone on to justify what your results mean. Does the justification match what your research has shown? Okay, so why do they do this? Why do they do this big process of sending out to multiple independent researchers to check over your work? Well, if you know that someone else is going to be looking over your work who is a fellow scientist and checking to see if it's correct, it's going to keep you honest. You're not going to try and produce substandard work if someone else is going to be looking over it before it can be published. So hopefully it'll keep the research honest. It will make people think really carefully about the methodology they use in their experiments and observations and stuff. And it should mean that if people are standing in the way of poor quality research being published in scientific literature, it should protect the public really as well. It should mean that the public aren't just reading these scientific reports and going, oh, well, it must be true, it's scientific, if it's poorly conducted. Another reason that we might want to have this peer review process is to actually start judging universities. Now, of course, universities, part of their function is to teach you a degree, but all universities have got a imperative to conduct research alongside teaching postgraduate and undergraduate students, and each university is rated on how good their research is. And this might be something you want to do to the university you're going off to next year, is to maybe have a little look at what their research rating is. So once their research is produced, their research is then checked by peer review, and as part of this process about how many peer-reviewed articles are released per department, their research rating will be decided on. So we've got two big reasons really: keeping the scientists honest so you can protect the public, and also assessing the research rating of universities. There are some problems with this peer review process though. As scientific research becomes more and more specialist, so you wouldn't just be doing your research on general areas of psychology, you would end up really narrowing down your focus as you're trying to find things out that effectively haven't been researched before. It can be quite hard to find an expert who is suitable to look over the research and truly understand exactly what the researcher was trying to find. This process is supposed as well to be anonymous, so it's supposed to be that the researcher doesn't know whose work they're looking over, and vice versa, the person who has produced the research doesn't know who's going to be looking over their research. This is linked to the first point though. It can be hard to find a suitable expert if you're in a field and it's quite small and there's only maybe 15 other people who work in your research area. You might be able to work out either whose work you're peer reviewing or who's peer reviewing your work. Now, when a small group of people are fighting for a limited amount of research funding in a particular field, this could clearly lead to some problems if you've got someone's work and the temptation might be to settle an old score. Oh, well, I'm sure that it was them that didn't pass me last year. I think I'm going to have a problem with this. So that means we could lack the objectivity we would want to truly assess these pieces of work. It could be as well that there's problems with the journals themselves that they're being sent to. Now, this is called publication bias. Journals like to have readership. They like to have people buying the journals and reading over them. And generally, people like to read about positive results. They're excited to go, "Oh, look what we have found." People like to read that kind of stuff. People don't tend to like to read, "I did this research, I found there was no results." Now, you might think, well, you wouldn't publish that anyway, but sometimes it's very important to publish negative results of research. I mean, imagine if you're a researcher and you're trying to think about what to study. You come up with a good idea, and you think it's a good thing to study, and you check to see that no one else has studied it before, and oh great, no one's published anything like this before. And then you do the research and you find that, oh, actually no, there wasn't anything to see here, and you don't publish. Well, then someone else next month comes along and goes, oh, I'd like to do the same. You could have people repeating the same failed research again and again and again, simply because it's never been published before that these results don't work. Also, replications. Replications are really important to check the validity of research. So conducting a replication showing, yes, actually this does work, or this doesn't seem to be in effect. It isn't as exciting as some new novel research, but perhaps just as important. So this process where the journals will just publish interesting positive results could lead to a broader misunderstanding of scientific facts. This problem is also called the file drawer problem, where researchers know that the journals aren't going to want to publish, so they just keep it in their file drawer. This can be a big problem, especially with research in medicines and drugs. If you only want to know about the positive trials, let's say a drug goes for trial 20 times, 19 of those times it shows no effect, but in one study it shows there was a positive effect of the drug, and that one trial publishes, then you might have the idea that this drug is effective, when actually it isn't at all. It just got those results by chance. Also, journals are run generally by the scientific community that's interested in that field of research. And there's the idea of a status quo, this idea of, well, this is just how it is in this field. Now, if some new novel researcher comes along with a new idea and a research that hasn't been done before, there might automatically be a little bit of a hesitation to even consider this for publication. You might think, well, clearly this person doesn't know the field well enough. Actually, we'll tell them to go away and look at what they've done. Again, because clearly these results can't be true, because it goes against everything that we know about the existing theory. Okay, so that is peer review.